Ladies and gentlemen, in the blue corner, standing at a sleek 5'11", 245 pounds, the tumultuous tempest of technique, Thomas Lilly. And in the red corner, at a curvaceous 5'11", 315 pounds, the jovial juggernaut of judgment, John Cheryl Sheridan. A meeting of the masters of mastication. Turn your attention as they delve deep into all things lifting and more. This is Peak Speak.
All right, we're actually back. Another episode of Peak Speak. Episode 20-something.
And Thomas is hiding his boner.
Well, we've got Ed Coan on our podcast.
Come on.
Of course he's got a boner.
It
would be rude not to have a boner.
I'm only human, and you just called it the masturbation theater and porn music.
Little thoughts get through.
Ed, welcome.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.
It's the end of a long day.
We've
all just finished day 2 of Pro Raw 11. Is that what Pro Raw were up to?
Yeah.
Very exciting day.
Indeed.
Cool. Some good fights.
Man, it was a fun day to watch.
Who were the highlights for you, Ed?
Well, you had the 3 classes you had with Krita and Les.
Yeah.
Then you had Patrick and everyone and Matt, and then you had Will and Seb.
Yeah. All three classes.
Came down to the last deadlift.
You know what I actually really liked? That it was all Aussies.
Yeah.
Because the first pro I went to was really just Aussies.
Yeah.
And I like that inner fight amongst the country. I think it's pretty cool.
Uh-huh. So to give the people an idea, how long have you been coming back and forth to Australia? I think your first nationals was
It was 2014 because I bombed and then I got
it's like 6 years.
I got a pep talk from Ed Coan.
When you still trying to do multiply.
Yeah, when I bombed. So that was
attempt at multiply.
Yeah, it was pretty shit, but. I remember that I bombed in the squat, came over to commiserate with my girlfriend, and Marcus was like, Ed wants to talk to you. And I was like, oh shit. And I got a pep talk from Ed Coan. It was great.
What did he say?
That I'm reasonably strong and I look like I controlled the weight. Just turns out shit.
Well, I mean, you came back next year, you squatted a massive squat, and I absolutely smoked you.
You did. That's because I was only ever good at squats. Because they're the one lift that matters.
So what? We all have something that we're good at.
Exactly.
So you've come out pretty much every year since. Yeah.
Sometimes a few times, twice a year.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of leads us into the first thing that we wanted to talk to you about because you've been on. You can type in Ed Coan anywhere, you're going to find a whole bunch of podcasts and interviews and everything like that. So we wanted to hear a bit more about your opinions on a few things.
Sure.
And the first one being, how can we do powerlifting better? Like, what's it going to take for powerlifting to go back to?
Well, So the thing that got me for this question was that you've been around powerlifting for so long that you've seen the peak of powerlifting and then the trough that comes after that, and then it peaks again, right? Like powerlifting's now as popular as maybe it's ever been.
Popularity is coming by because of all the social media.
Yeah.
It just has to maintain quality. So there has to be some type of quality control with all the meets that go on. I mean, I judged a meet that was non-sanctioned, but we had myself, Stan Efferding, Andrei Milanchev, Dan Bell, Bo Moore, has multiple IPF records left and right, and somebody else who was in there. So quality of judging was great. As long as that is there, you can always have good meets, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's people think when you start letting stuff go, then you're letting the inmates run the asylum, and what ends up happening is the meat gets a bad rep and it goes downhill. No matter what.
Do you think that was what the sort of early 2000s era, the peak of multiply?
Yeah, it killed it.
That's what killed it.
And that was like all of a sudden now you couldn't videotape from the side. You couldn't give a red light as a head judge from the front on depth. So instantly they get one white light automatically, which is like, what the fuck is this? Why do you even have the judge?
Friendly judge and you're okay.
Yeah, so it definitely was a shit show for a while. But when you're the only multiply fed in town, you want the biggest lifts. So that's the way they were getting popularity, but the popularity ended up being it's like this will be a laugh for you. This is how I describe it. It's like a lot of guys that have girlfriends that go on and take a bunch of shit, extra supplements, and the chick looks really good for a while. So the guy's like looking at other guys look at her. He's like, yeah, that looks great. You know, I look at the way she's looking at. They're looking at her. Blah blah blah. Then a year goes by and she starts to change a little bit, and that look goes from like wow to ooh, and then he notices him saying ooh. And he's like, I don't want any part of this chick anymore because she's changed for the worse. That would happen to Multiply.
Yeah.
It definitely killed Multiply. Like that was when I got into it.
And it's a shame because, Multiply is still powerlifting, it's just different.
Yeah.
But they had to maintain the same rules and they didn't a lot.
That's the analogy I always use when describing to people who don't know the difference is the difference between pole vault and high jump. Both, in essence, are sports that test how high you can jump. One, you just get to use a bit of equipment that means you can jump higher. And not all good pole vaulters are good high jumpers.
Yeah, but here's the other thing is a lot of times where people were then saying the pole vaulter jumped higher than the high jump guy and put them on the same page.
Yeah, no.
It's like, no, it's a different record. You can't
totally
do that.
Yeah.
That's what that guy, Michael Sung, who had all those all-time record sheets and stuff, that's where he fucked up is he put everyone on the same page.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can't. I mean, I've done them all.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference between raw and knee wraps with raw without. There's difference with a monolift. There's difference with guys that are tested in the IPF. There's difference with equipment. So you can't lump them all into one category.
Yeah.
And then that's where all the animosity starts coming in too. It's, you can't have a guy who's in the IPF who goes through all that stuff and then have a guy who's in one of the U.S. federations that doesn't get tested, that's allow all the extra equipment and a monolift and 24-hour weigh-ins and then put them in the same fucking group.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
it just doesn't work like that.
No.
How much of that do you think is social media related compared to... Because obviously, like, you've come from an era of...
It's gotten better since social media with that part of it.
Yeah, right.
And the popularity of powerlifting, too. I mean, the first year I came here to your nationals, there was 30-something women lifting. All of a sudden, within a year or two, there's 100-something
it was
on one day.
2015, we had, 300 and something lifters? It was like...
More than that. It was 5 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Tuesday
One
to
whole
Sunday.
day was all
6 days.
women.
Yeah.
It was, it's like, and a lot of these women just like it because I like the way it makes my butt and legs feel and stuff like that.
That's
And,
why I like it.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't always make them a power lifts, but the power lifter, but the power lifts everyone's doing now. So it's kind of that's where everyone's getting where the notoriety from powerlifting comes in. Look at all the CrossFitters that jumped in.
Yeah, and I was just about to reference CrossFit. That's been for me the thing that I think both weightlifting and powerlifting have been saved by CrossFit.
Definitely.
Because it introduces people to bar sports.
It's put a barbell in the hands of a whole generation, and specifically women. I think women more so than men have taken up lifting that was for so long not frowned upon, but it wasn't the norm.
To that level.
Yeah, exactly. And now all these women see these crazy, insanely strong CrossFit
But they
chicks.
like the way they look. Look at the butts and legs that walk around.
Is that a compliment against me, or?
Well, you have a nice butt, but I don't
you.
know about your legs. Tom is the one with the hips and legs.
He does have hips and legs. He's got a nice hip and leg waddle
Yes.
going on at the moment.
Thank you very
But
much.
the moving up
look
a weight
at
class.
if you get the women to come to a powerlifting meet, the men are going to follow.
Probably.
So you're talking about quality control there, and that was kind of really specifically talking about the refereeing. Do you think that extends to the quality of the actual meet in terms of the organization, in terms of, I guess, controlling how many people are coming to the meet and everything like that as well? Because
you can't get greedy or else you're going to have the quality of lifters is going to drop too.
Yeah.
They should have their, based on how good you are, you should be able to compete at a pro raw if you're not qualified enough. Don't just use people as fillers. It doesn't work. It just makes it long for the audience.
Because that's kind of one of the criticisms I have for pro raw on this specific day, because it was the same last year as well. It feels like there's a whole flight of 95 kilo lifters that probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to those lifters.
The thing is, here's the other edge. If you're the meet director, do you need those people to pay that
to make
much
the
of
money.
energy, the entry blank to pay off the cost?
So that was a conversation I had with Shannon Green today. He was saying that like what you should do is half the number of lifters and double the entry fee, because everyone who's in that top 10%
wants to be there.
Wants to be there, and will like there are whole.
What was the entry fee?
$135.
Yeah,
That's not that bad.
you made that 200,
No.
people would still pay it.
I'd still
Sure
pay
they
200.
would.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
it's the meat of the year, and I think if you can be in that position, then because like what Pro Raw was in that sort of it's like 6-7-ish before it hit the Arnolds, it was like the cream of the crop, you know. Like fuck,
Yeah.
I competed at Pro Raw 1, but I've never
So it
been the
wasn't
cream of the
quite-
crop. No, it certainly
it
wasn't,
wasn't
because it
quite
was in the
like that.
fucking footy shed at the Frankston Dolphins football oval. But it was the start of what is now this
Yes.
insanely huge.
Yeah.
You know, there would have been thousands of people there today across the whole day. You know, and I think for the average person in the crowd, they probably don't know that there's 2 flights of 95s, and they don't understand that 15 of these guys are going to come between 15 and 30, and they're not
Yeah,
necessarily.
there should be a way to figure out when is my guy going to go, so I can go look at shit or go take a nap.
Well,
or
and
go
this
eat
is the problem with a meet that runs for 10, 12 hours is, I think the percentage of people in powerlifting now who, compared to like when I started competing, and I imagine when you did, Thomas, the people that are competing now who are like in their 30s and have a family and want to bring their kids to watch this meet.
They only have so much time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not going to bring my son to watch a 10-hour
and then,
powerlifting
You know,
meet.
with Pro Raw though, today is Hag and I went down to see the strongman stuff, and there was a few people down there, but the rest of the auditorium was packed. I said, look behind that Pro Raw. The audience was still just packed and standing.
Yeah.
Standing. So Emad has done an incredible job.
Oh, they've done a fantastic
of
job.
keeping it entertaining.
Yeah.
And I think that's the discussion that we were having just when we went and ate burgers was how do you make it more entertaining for people who aren't powerlifters? And that's
I think you just keep learning as you go along.
the discussion I've had with a few people is that, like, the joke was made a couple of years ago that it was the Arnolds feature. It was Pro Raw featuring the Arnolds, not the other way around. But the question I asked at the time was, how many people that were there today would have paid to come and see a powerlifting meet? Because a lot of the people that were there, like, obviously there's all the people like us who are lifters, friends of lifters, coaches,
Yeah, we're
etc.
meatheads.
Yeah, but then you have a whole segment of that population who've maybe never been exposed to powerlifting before. And would they pay $20 to go and see a powerlifting meet?
Probably not.
Probably not. And that's
No,
the
because they'd have to go to a different spot.
Yeah.
exactly, and that's the compromise that
Yeah,
you
but
have.
you know, if you go to the Arnold Classic Ohio and you look at the USA Powerlifting there in XBC,
Do people even still compete in the XPC?
just because it's at the Arnold,
Yeah,
and it's packed there the same way.
yeah.
But it is getting people to see it. Maybe they might try it. You know.
Well, and this is the thing that we've talked about before, is the great thing about powerlifting as a sport is it's accessible to everyone. Like, everyone who's walked into a gym at some point in their life has done some variation of a squat, a bench press, and a deadlift. And for me, like, that's why I encourage so many people to compete, because you can. Like, there are a lot of other sports.
A lot of people, when they go in the gym, all they do is just work out a little bit. If they have a purpose, it makes them train.
Yeah, exactly.
And they enjoy it more.
Yeah, it gives them something to work towards
Yeah.
beyond something more tangible
Exactly.
than I just want to be fit and healthy.
Yeah.
Because I think if you can,
So they'll up the weight, they'll up the reps, they'll
Yeah,
up
exactly.
the volume. They'll all of a sudden they'll see a difference, and
Yeah.
then they're hooked.
yeah, well, when you've and not only that, but when you've got like an end date to train for, it's so much more motivating to have like it doesn't matter what I feel like
And
today
then you
because
see progress in a different way.
Exactly.
You know, look how strong I got.
yeah, and I think the level of powerlifting certainly from Pro Raw 1 to now has increased exponentially over the last
Huge.
10 years. But I think strength sports in general. I saw a thing on
Strongman's getting huge too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I saw a thing on, I think it was on Reddit over the weekend. The heaviest stone I think it was the 2002 World's Strongest Man was 165 kilos.
Far out.
Now
do that at local meets.
Yeah, now the opens in the World's Strongest Man probably don't even start with that.
Yeah, Brian Shaw picks up like a 600-pound one playing around.
Far
Just
out.
for fun.
Unreal. So, back in when you first started, compared to where powerlifting is now, what do you miss from that age, and what do you wish that age sort of had?
I missed that there was just really one or two federations then. And quality control was way up high.
Yeah.
There was no social media, so all you did was train and read Powerlifting USA or International Powerlifter magazine, and that was it.
Yeah.
The bad thing is that there wasn't as much information.
Yeah.
So
it's really a double-edged sword.
When people start seeing more people do really incredible lifts, then it comes in their head where I can do that. There's no way I'm gonna ever be able to do that.
Yeah.
So they start seeing that stuff like the 4-minute mile.
Yeah, well, and you see everyday people doing it. Like you go, oh well, there's that 50-year-old woman who podiumed yesterday.
How did she do that? I want to read how she did that.
Yeah.
Read the backstory.
Yeah, exactly.
So she did it. Well, fuck, I can do that.
Yeah. The social media thing is really interesting, especially in relation to these like fringe sports. So my sporting background before powerlifting, I competed in freestyle BMX, right? And
he's fully sick.
Very much the same sort of thing. Like now that the progression of the sport since the advent of social media and the ease of seeing what everyone else is doing, the sport has progressed massively.
Yeah.
So you get, the
millions of dollars in it now.
Yeah, and like you get these kids doing tricks that guys would work on for a year to unveil at the next X Games. Now you can just watch any person doing it, watch that and learn. It just opens up the possibilities. And I think lifting's much the same. Like you wouldn't know what a lot of your competitors were doing until that Worlds or the next Nationals or something like that. Yeah. And then you see it like all of a sudden a 600-pound bench is possible. A 300-kilo
then
bench
all of a sudden
is possible.
All these big guys start benching 600.
Yeah, they're squatting 1,000 pounds, deadlifting 900. It's insane how social media has influenced that progression of these fringe sports so much.
And I think a lot of people bash on social, and like I'm sure I've been guilty of this, but a lot of people bash on social media as this like negative thing because there's a lot of people putting out shit information, but there was a lot of people putting out shit information years ago. It just didn't get seen by as many people, and now
always happens. Like there was a call today that I didn't agree with.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's fucking bullshit, blah blah. Then I started thinking, I was like, you know what? When Mendelsohn did his biggest bench,
I'm not gonna lie, Ed, I have seen you put some dodgy calls up.
And I like almost before he even touched, I was so fucking scared looking at it, waiting for a pec to tear that I just said, oh. So I gave him way too early. I fucked up.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that is part of the issue with powerlifting is it's always going to be refereed by humans. And there's always going to be an element.
I never really cared for the jury thing. And
no,
where all of a sudden they just turn back. They turn a lift to red or turn a lift to white. It's like, no, let the judges do their fucking jobs. That's what you got to rope to.
Yeah. But then I think the responsibility lies with the meet director in only ever putting people in that chair that they trust. You know, like I've had people like my mates dispute calls, and I've said, look, either I saw it or I didn't, but regardless, it doesn't matter because I put those 3 people in that chair because I trust their decisions. Because as a meet director, and I've now run something like 40 powerlifting meets over the last several years, I can't do everything, and I can't sit in every judge's chair and make all those decisions. So you have to put faith and trust in these people.
Shit happens, get over it.
Yeah, exactly.
And what people don't understand, if you've never sat in the ref's chair and had to make those split-second calls...
It's incredibly stressful, man.
You sit on social media replaying a video 400 times
and
in slow-mo, zooming in. That wasn't to depth, that was 1 centimeter too high. It's like,
I judged Milanichev's like biggest squat ever at the first Big Dogs. I was shitting myself sitting in that chair because there's so much pressure riding on that. And I think it's very easy to fall into I'll just give it whites. And yeah, sure, the lifter should get the benefit of the doubt.
If I doubt myself, I give a white.
Me too.
Too bad if it's not.
Yeah, if I think there's anything other than a determined, like it was definitely reds, I'll give it whites. Because I think that the lifter should get the benefit of the doubt. But as a meet director, and this is where I think the responsibility falls to the meet director, they have to be able to pick people who they trust. And,
with big lifts.
Yep, and pressure and... Fuck, man, I've had people, like, with their crew come over and question my judging after a lift. And it's like, well, man, like, this is the situation, here's what I saw, and I made that call. I'm like, I'm not going to change my mind or be intimidated by a bunch of people, but not everyone is potentially...
Is your lifter still lifting? Does he got more lifts to do? Well, you better shut up.
Yeah, exactly. I
had an interesting chat with Scott as we were walking over the bridge. Just like... there were quite a few people upset with a certain lifter today, being like, well, he's being hard done by blah, blah, blah. It's like, just because this person's a nice person doesn't mean they supersede the rule. And when you're sitting in the ref's chair and this lifter and they're a high caliber lifter and a really good person,
it is really hard to red light people.
It feels like shit red lighting people.
Man.
You're like, but I mean, the rules are clear on paper.
And I think that's what a good ref has, is the ability to remove the fact that they like the person.
Exactly.
Like I've red lighted people who are close friends of mine. I've red lighted people that I coach because they didn't hit the technical standards.
Just come back stronger.
Yeah, exactly. And I've always thought that as a lifter, if you spend your whole day whinging about the judging, it's because you didn't lift to a standard that puts it beyond doubt.
Yeah.
Like and sure, there's a borderline there, and you want to be like just inside that border of what is considered good versus bad, because you want to be able to get the most out of it, but just take it out of their hands. Like the best way to get away from bad judging is to put it beyond doubt and put yourself in a position where they don't have any option other than to press the white light.
Yeah.
Go below parallel, lock out your bench, lock out your deadlift. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not particularly
practice. The right fucking way.
That's the thing. It's a skill, right? And that's, I think, the thing that some people forget in the land of social media, because there are a whole generation of lifters now who are like social media lifters. They come to big meets and they perform poorly because they don't deal well with pressure.
Shit, you see that,
or they train like shit, or for whatever reason.
That squats high and wears straps on with a fucking 180 kilo deadlift. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, but even then, there's people at the really high level who their training lifts regularly outperform their meet lifts.
Maybe they don't stick to a routine. They're doing it for likes and
exactly.
followers.
And that's part of the issue, I think, is this is the somewhat negative side of social media in powerlifting, is it creates this group of people who get this huge following for perhaps an unjust reason, like they're claiming to be a powerlifter who only ever goes to big meets and then fails really miserably. Like that doesn't make you a good powerlifter.
No, don't call yourself a powerlifter.
No, and like the reason people talk about you being the greatest powerlifter ever is because you did it fucking excellently for 20 years. 28 years, 30 years. Let's call it 30. Let's round up to 30.
So speaking of good powerlifters, one thing we wanted to ask you was, what do you think makes up the attributes of a great powerlifter? Like, what's a great powerlifter to you?
Performance, obviously, is number one. But if you're really, to be truthful, if you're not nice to people, if you're an asshole, nobody will ever talk about you because you're a fucking dick. And that really is what sets all athletes above time. I mean, how many people talk about a guy who was great but he was an asshole? They don't.
Yeah.
Or they say he was great but he was an asshole.
Yeah, you're fucking lifting weights, you're doing a fucking sport, you're getting paid or whatever.
Or in most cases not getting paid.
Yeah, but you're at least getting your way paid, and you owe it to yourself just to do your fucking job on the platform, and then that's it. But I also like lifters that give back a little bit too. We get so much out of it for doing what we're going to do anyways.
Yeah.
So you might as well give back a little bit. It's easy.
So in your 28 years of competing, and now you're several years after that of being heavily involved in the sport, who are some people that stand out to you as some of the greats for those reasons?
Well, back when I was competing, I competed a lot in the IPF. So there was, one of the guys was Inaba at little 114 pounder, 52 kilos or whatever.
Do they even make adults that small anymore?
Yes, they do. The little Russian guy, Fedosenko.
Yeah.
Look how many worlds he's won.
He is insane.
Yeah, look how many worlds Oleg from Poland's won.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look at the longevity on some of these guys is incredible. So you do want longevity, has to be factored in there, most definitely. But there's not a lot of powerlifters who have been really big assholes to me.
Yeah.
So, I'm pretty lucky in that respect. And nowadays, man, you got so many good lifters coming out of the woodwork. I don't like one-trick ponies. I don't like guys that can only squat or bench or deadlift. I like guys that try to at least do it all. I have a good rapport with Kaler. He's a great fucking lifter, and he tries. His bench is going up, his squat's going up. Finally, his knees are better. The first time I met, who's the Russian deadlifter?
Yuri Belkin.
Yeah, really nice guy.
Yeah.
I walked right up to him and shook his hand and hugged him and told him how I loved his lift. He's like, he was dumbfounded. That's not the impression I thought I was going to get of you. It's like, why? You're a great lifter. It's just respect. It's like, can't you respect a guy for how he lifts?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people miss in powerlifting is like it's a very individual sport that is a competition, but it's the only sport I've ever competed in 30 years of life that I've actively cheered for my competition. Like stepped off a platform and
make your lifts and lose, that's on you.
Yeah. It's the same conversation we to a certain extent had with Stenzel the other day, and I had it with Stenzel again today. Is like he was happy with his performance despite losing.
Yeah.
And I think that's all you can ask for, right? Is turn up on the day, give everything you have, and either you're strong enough or you're not. But
yeah, but Matt is always like the nicest guy in the world too.
Yeah, but I think a few years ago he was much harder on himself about losing than he is now. And I think that perspective shift is what keeps people in the game for a long
sometimes
time.
It's how you look at it. He may have not won first place, but did he really lose? He went all out, gave it the best job he could do, lifted what he could that day.
Didn't he go 9 for 9?
No, he missed his last deadlift.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I offered him my hands for next year's winner.
I'm sure he'll take it.
There are a lot of people in powerlifting who would pay to have... You're the example I give every time I explain how deadlift leverages work to people. Because what are you, like 5'3" and you've got a 6'8" wingspan?
Like 5'5" now after the hips.
Yeah, there you go. And what's your wingspan?
I don't even know.
It'd be like 6'2", surely.
Long.
Can scratch his calves standing up straight.
The hips made you taller.
No, shorter.
Shorter.
Yeah, I used to be 5'6".
Okay.
I mean, chopped a bit off and didn't quite replace
That's
it.
fine.
Yeah, that'll be right.
Fine.
At least you can walk now.
I can go to I can touch my dick easier now.
Perfect.
But see the way I deadlifted is I round over and use a ton of back anyways.
Yeah.
So that was my advantage. You know, I got loompa legs, but I got a tall torso and really wide. I had this big, huge fucking back that I built. So why not use it?
Yeah. I think that's...
Your version of perfect is going to be different than others, so don't worry about it.
And that's the thing we've talked about a lot is that, like, there's no right way to squat or right way to bench press.
No, the way is, how I do it is I'll watch someone from the front side view, and I'll see how it looks. Does it look natural? Does it feel natural? Then it's good. If it doesn't quite look or feel natural, your brain won't quite accept that way. So down the line, you're gonna end up having problems because us three, if we were the same height, build and everything, they took MRIs of our hips, there would be a slight angular difference each on the inside. So that's the difference between going wider, pointing your toes out, having flats, having heels. That's the difference there. So I usually go by how it looks and feels before I just judge it.
Yeah. I think so much of that, certainly as a coach, like that's one of the things I've developed over the years as a coach is the ability to see like a lift that looks smooth. And sometimes it's like I don't know what's wrong there, but it just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Let's try a bunch of things until we find the thing that works.
Small changes, or else a lot of people try to make big changes and they never find the spot.
Or change 8 different things at once.
Just a few little different things. Yeah. A lot of times it'll just be one thing that'll correct a squat. Could be how they hold the bar, or how they squeeze the back, or how they ride,
how they think about it, or
and that could have a domino effect on the 5 other things.
Yeah.
Mm. So speaking of, we spoke about who you thought were some great lifters. Who do you think are some names to be watching for the next, say, 5 or 10 years?
Well, a lot of the people here are still young enough where they can go for 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
At least 5, but some of them have to slow it down.
That certainly seems to be the thing. They
run way too hard too many times a year where you can't do it. It would be like running the Olympics at the 100-meter dash. How many times can you go all out in your training and do that and have a positive outcome?
Yeah.
Because you're running too hard all the time. Something bad's going to happen. Your body won't do it. So there's going to have to be a time where you drop back down and lay out a whole new base that takes a while so you can get bigger and stronger. And a lot of people don't do that. They just peak. They don't train for long periods of time.
Do you think that's part of the reason you were at the top of the game for so long?
I went back to, I had 2 meets a year. And my off season was from like late June all the way up to, from late June, then the Worlds would be in late November, early December. Then I had all the way till late June again, to lay down 2-3 long training cycles where I got strong again.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made it better.
And again, I think some of that comes down to social media as well, right? Like this need, because sets of 8 and 10 aren't sexy.
Yeah, but do a set of 8 or 10 with 700 with no knee sleeves. Well, now it's different. Now you're getting likes.
Yes.
So just get fucking stronger.
Well, there you go.
You know, his stuff, zero weakness. That's what I did all off season. What was I weak at? Okay, well, my strength was in my hips and back, so I did high bar, closer stance Olympic lifting for cycles on end. I did deficit deadlifts with no belt on end. I did benches with my feet up and heavier shoulder work on end. There you go.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that a lot of people miss is the rebuilding a base thing, not just running 12-week peaking cycles after 12-week peaking cycles.
That's part of the science part of it.
Yeah. It's the difference between training, or like building strength and testing strength.
Mm-hmm.
If all you ever do is compete 4 times a year.
And stick to the damn routine.
Yeah.
You've got a number you want to hit at the end. If you change anything in between, it's going to fuck up that number in the end.
Yep.
So look, you do 4 cycles a year, just 5 years goes by really fast. How long have you been powerlifting, John?
I did my first meet in 2010.
Okay, look, that's 9 years already. If you did 4 training cycles a year, didn't really ever miss a weight, did all the right assistance work, all the right numbers all the time.
I'd be way stronger than I am now.
Yeah, you'd be a fucking monster. So that's the way I looked at it. And social media, the lack of, is probably what helped, because I was in my head all the time writing out routines and numbers constantly, where I'd have every set, rep, exercise, and weight figured out a whole training cycle before I even started, and I'd stick to it.
And I think that surely part of that is not being able to compare yourself to anyone else. So
Yeah,
all you've got to compare
I only
yourself
tried to get better.
Yeah.
Because and when you're on a platform, you try to go 9 for 9. What does 9 for 9 mean?
You did better.
Getting the best you could on yourself on that day. But you can only do what you can do.
Yeah.
You can't miraculously go from being able to do a 300 to a 315.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen because you didn't train for that. That's not how your body's not ready for it yet. So where's that number going to come from? Well, maybe a meet or two down the line because you trained for it.
That's the thing that always confused me about some people who are big on like, oh, I'm 4 weeks out from a meet, I'm not going to post any videos on social media anymore because I'm keeping my numbers a secret.
Oh, God.
I've never really understood that because it doesn't actually fucking matter. Because even if you turn up on the day and people are like, wow, he's way stronger than I thought.
They're going to do whatever the hell they can.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're still just
You're
gonna
not that special.
Yeah, and that's the amusing thing for me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not a secret, man. No one cares that
just
much.
laugh at them.
Just turn up and do your thing and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
On the so we obviously touched on the 1 or 2, let's call it 2 federations, because tested and untested, that's a reasonable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you think from that era? Because like at that point, things like the Mountaineer Cup and stuff were on television, and it was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is obviously being exposed to a much wider audience, certainly in the general population.
Yeah, usually at like 2 a.m. in the morning.
But look, that's more powerlifting that's on fucking TV right now.
True.
So you know, like
when powerlifting is edited, it gets great ratings.
Yes, because it's a really impressive sport.
You just got to go to a network and say, "We'll film it, we'll edit it, we'll give it to you for free. Don't charge them.
Yeah,
give it to them. Get the exposure." Now, after you do that, now you can make money because they'll see how much exposure they got for showing it.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think we talked about this briefly at dinner, is the thing like Pro Raw and stuff like that. For someone who doesn't understand powerlifting, who's never watched powerlifting before, they're going to see 3 days of lifting and be overwhelmed and not understand why that person got reds but this person didn't.
You could get fucking bored in the middle of it if you have to wait through all those people.
I own a fucking powerlifting gym and I get bored.
Let's say like the 95 kilo class today, their lifter, who their buddy or their son or daughter or whoever lifted, and then they got to wait through all those extra rounds for them to lift again.
2.5 hours, 3 hours before.
I went back and took a nap.
Yeah. Well, look at it like this: if the meet's 10 hours and it's one lifter that you're watching, it's 9 minutes out of 10 hours.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah.
And it makes it, I think, really hard to, because the joke's always been that no one cares about powerlifting other than powerlifters. And I'm sure, like I know Thomas and I are certainly in a position where we would like to see more people care about powerlifting because we own businesses that rely on it. But also because it's a sport that I think a lot
make
of
it
people
entertaining. He might
Yeah.
did a good job today with all the shit he had going on.
I think
You definitely, like I
did.
said, if every country had an EMOD, we'd probably be the most popular fucking sport in the world.
It would
Because he
certainly,
looks at that from a business point of view too.
yeah, it would certainly make a big difference.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. The ability to like, especially because like video equipment and all these things are so much more accessible now. Like the ease with which you could approach something like Big Dogs, where you've only got 10 lifters, so all you need to do is like, you could like pay for a camera and send it to
As
them.
soon as you get into town, we're doing interviews these next 2 nights at PTC headquarters or at the Quest
Yeah.
Hotel.
And so all we need is
we'll come to you.
we need half an hour of your time.
That's it.
Because that's all it would be, is sit down and ask 8 questions, and then you get them to film some training footage, and you cut
Have
the
them
whole
send
thing
training
together.
footage in beforehand.
Yeah, and then you've got this 40-minute show that with ads goes to 60 minutes, and now you've got a meet like Big Dogs that powerlifters are still going to pay to go and see, and are still going to watch the live stream and all those things, but you can put it on TV to a much wider audience. And I think
Definitely. Because it's broken up and it becomes entertainment then too.
and that's what strongman do really well.
And all of a sudden people that see it are going to have someone that they like and they're going to root for before it even starts.
Because you get characters.
Yeah.
That's what strongman has so well. There's like, what's that Russian dude's name that always wears the beret?
The strongman.
Yeah,
He's
strongman.
great.
But he's a dude that like I've been watching on strongman comps for years.
Yeah.
And he's still around, but he's a character. He wears the beret.
When his
ex-military.
nose bled in the deadlift at the Arnold Classic last year, that got like worldwide coverage. It was fucking cool as shit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's things like that I think expose the sport to a...
They need a personality to go behind.
Yeah,
it.
exactly. You need characters. That's why things like wrestling do so well.
Yeah.
I think
Because there's a story behind it. There's a character development.
Even
those
if
sort of
it's
things.
bullshit, it's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
the thing that has to go with it as well. It's like one thing to become connected to this character, but if you have no idea what's happening,
Yes.
what's the point? So it's one thing powerlifting really misses. I mean, I think Tim does a really good job on the emceeing of being like, this person's chasing first.
Yeah,
and
how do you
second,
get
this
the
is all that.
audience to know
But-
beforehand what they should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, you look up on the screen and it's just got this list of names and all these weird coefficients and numbers. People need to know strongmen.
Have a pamphlet set out where everyone can just grab a sheet of paper like a menu, and it'll say squat, bench, deadlift, the rules, and what the object is.
But I
They
think
need to bring up like a leaderboard between squats, so you know where people are up to and who's chasing
do
first.
that
Yeah, so you're creating a storyline inside the story.
Exactly.
That would be cool.
They do that reasonably well with Big Dogs on the live stream.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you get to sit, like they bring up, because there's a break in the lifting, they get to bring up these things that make it slightly more entertaining to watch. But I think also having an MC who, especially in an area like today where there's a lot of people who see red lights and like it looks like that person stood up with their deadlift, it looks like it should be a good lift, but they got red lights for this. And having someone who, as an MC, and it's something I do every time someone puts a mic in my hand when I'm MCing a comp, is okay, this person got red lights for this and here's what we expect and here's where they went wrong, and just explaining to people, because my assumption is always no one in the crowd knows the rules. Because I think if you aim from a
But even if we're watching from the audience and you know what's going on, you still might not know why he got a
Yeah,
red.
that's
yeah,
right.
exactly. So I think that's where you can expand on that and just generate a much bigger interest with people who have no fucking idea what's going on. Because my parents have seen me lift maybe twice in 9 years of lifting because they have no fucking idea what's going on.
Well, they
don't
hate
know.
watching you bomb out all the time.
And, well, that's valid. I'm pretty sure the first meet they came to, I bombed in the squat.
Hey, the first meet I went to with my parents there when I was a kid is they didn't have racks that went low enough, so that
I've heard that story.
I missed my first 2.
Yeah, that's not a huge surprise to me.
Speaking of stories, can you tell us about Airport Eddie?
Yeah, we were asked by Hege to talk about Airport
Eddie
Eddie.
is not nice. When Eddie's stressed out at an airport, he's not nice to anybody.
Which is really amusing because you're one of the nicest people I've
I
ever
know.
met.
I just like I'm.
It's like-
I feel when I start feeling rushed, it's not good.
Give us an example.
Is
of
it
not
because
being
your
nice.
legs are so short you can't get quick enough to the gate you need to get to?
No, I'm usually there. The last year when we were here with Boss, took an Uber from my house, and I told Hega, hey, wait, get your jacket out of there. the Uber. Then we took our stuff out the trunk, and I was real snotty to her when I said it. And I left my jacket in the trunk. I was like, motherfucker, I fucking, oh. And then they kept needling me about it. Well, why don't you call the Uber driver? Why don't you do this? I tried, it didn't work. Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you? And I said, it's gone. It's no big deal. I can get another one. And they kept needling me, and it just got worse and worse. So by the time we walked all the way and got to the gate, I was not happy. No one could say anything to me. It was to their amusement, but I just walked off.
Yeah, that I'm not gonna lie, I'd pay good money to see that.
Yeah, it was not fun.
American airports are weird though, especially when you go to board the plane. Have you been to America?
No, I haven't.
Like it's like the old people get to go in first, and then the military people, and then special religious people, and then
disabled.
And then
why don't you put them on first?
disabled people, and there's like 7 zones.
Yeah.
Is it also you don't have assigned seating? Is that a thing?
Some like Southwest, you don't. You're just assigned
really?
a certain like A, B, or C.
Yeah, right. That'd be a shit fight.
So all A goes on, then all B, and then all C.
You just get what you're stuck with.
Yeah. So but usually you can check in 24 hours before. So if your flight's at 8 a.m., right at a.m., boom. And then you still get like B something. Because if you pay a fee, you get to get on before that.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
How's this? We have the best powerlifter of all time. We're talking about
Airport travel.
air travel.
Yeah, but that's because no one cares about powerlifting other than powerlifters. We've discussed that already.
Almost.
Yeah. That's why
But you know what?
listens to
When
this
I've been
podcast.
in one of the old quads gym, we used to have a lot of older people that trained there, and they loved when I went heavy. They actually loved it. I mean, I'm not a big screamer and curser and stuff, so I'm sure that helped. But they all loved it and asked me afterwards, "What weight was that? What was this? Yeah, why did your nose bleed?"
It's okay. I'm all right.
Because my blood pressure is very high.
Yeah. Don't check my underwear.
So, having had 2 hip replacements, how has that had a positive impact upon your day-to-day life? And then obviously,
Maybe slow down.
I'm very curious about all this hip replacement stuff
Yeah,
because I'm well on my way.
Well, I'll tell you what. The old style I had, which was
you had 2 different.
Yeah, a little
hip
over 8 years
replacements.
ago, they cut more on the side, so they end up cutting through some muscle and stuff.
Yeah.
So that can be a little bit problematic later on, as far as there's scar tissue and stuff. You may feel it, but the new one in front, the anterior, they only cut through fascia tissue. This one I could run stadium stairs with this.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
Because you were walking the next day, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Travis Mass, 13 weeks after his hip replacement, just did a 501, a 227 front squat.
Fuck.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Yeah. So the new stuff is done. I waited like 2 years before I had the first one done, till I was like in so much pain I'd be crying every morning because they come out with so much advancements. So orthopedically, so I just waited, and that's the best they could do at the time. But the second one is money. My cousin did that one.
That makes a difference.
The hardest problem they had, keeping me breathing. So afterwards, I had to have a sleep study.
Oh, really?
So I got a CPAP machine now.
Yeah, that's not a huge surprise to me.
Yeah.
And the hip replacements, that was just based on a lifetime of lifting 400 plus kilos?
My mom had the arthritis gene with osteorheumatoid arthritis almost her whole life. So she had both knees, a shoulder replaced, both shoulders, a hip replaced. It was pretty rough. So I pretty much got that gene.
Uh-huh.
So it wasn't like from powerlifting itself.
Do you think lifting sped up or slowed down that process?
There's no way to tell. No way to tell. Shit happens.
Doesn't matter, right? Lifting was there regardless.
Yeah.
I got all those records and stuff already, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you don't have
They
to
cut
come
it
back.
short,
Yeah.
But
So did you have hip issues while you were lifting? Was that something?
only in my last meet it started coming on.
Yeah, right.
When
And
was
then I knew it was time.
when was the last meet?
2007.
Okay. And how old were you then?
Let's see, 44.
Okay. And so you've had both hips replaced.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, my shoulders are pretty fucked.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get some stem cells, and been getting some muscle work that we've been figuring out new shit on. If something happens, it happens. I'm okay with it.
So you're in pretty fucking good shape.
Not bad. I can't go real heavy in a lot of things, but I can still train hard if I want.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to, though?
I don't want to go super heavy anymore. I want the intensity there. I just want to be a little bit of who I was and look and feel like I have no pain.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I'm fine with it.
So for a normal person, not super heavy is probably different to what not super heavy to you is. So what kind of weights are you lifting at the moment?
If I go low bar squat, I could still squat 295 all day long with just sleeves.
Yeah.
I really don't bench a lot anymore. I'll do some
bench is
dumbbells and
real
some other
dumb
stuff.
though.
That's because you were never good at it. You suck.
I'm never gonna be good at it because it's dumb.
Are squats and deadlifts dumb too for you then?
No, just deadlifts.
Come on. I mean, you got triple digits in a shirt. That's pretty good.
Yeah, did you get a 600-pound deadlift finally?
No, I haven't hit that in a meet.
Yeah, because I know your deadlift went up all of a sudden because you wanted to do it.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah.
Taking the onus away from this
it helps when you want to do it.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah.
I'm yet to find that
in
with
between
bench press.
walking a tightrope like you do or climbing.
Technically, it's a slack line. But
well, whatever. I'm sure there's a lot of slack in it once you step on it.
The one that I learnt to do this on is at the rock climbing gym that I go to, and it's set up between these like two wooden block boxes, so you can like step onto the line. I can't. Lots of people can walk all the way across it. And I can't, but it's not because my balance isn't good enough.
Because you hit the floor?
Yeah, I get to the middle and I hit the ground. So instead of learning to walk a long way, I got really good at walking and then walking backwards. And then walking forwards again, or like walking halfway down and turning around.
That's not your fault.
No, it's definitely not. It's gravity. Gravity and these stupid rock climbers who are very light and skinny.
And what about deadlifts?
I don't go real heavy into deadlifts. I just don't. I want to keep my lower back in really good shape. So I'll do like snatch grip deadlifts and stuff like that, up to 500 pounds.
Yep.
Which is not very much when you consider that your best deadlift ever was, what, 900?
Yeah, 901.
901.
410 for the layman.
Or the
It's like 409 point something.
The person who actually uses logical expressions of measurement.
And it was what I say is pretty cool. Is it was actually 2 hour weigh-in in an IPF meet before deadlift bars.
Uh-huh. So was that with the system where you follow yourself?
No. We already had the round system, but the system where I found myself was when I was at 82 and a half.
Is that like a weightlifting style rising?
Yeah, the rising the bar. Yeah.
Yeah, and I pulled like 359 at 82 and a half. I was 20 years old.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So when you were lifting with the rising bar system, how often did you have anyone in between you? Like a lot of the time, were you just following yourself?
If they mixed us in, if I was at 82 and they mixed us in with the 90s, then sometimes especially on bench, I'd definitely have people in there. But on squat and deadlift, very little.
So to give people an idea, the rising bar system is like the bars going up, and they give you a minute between lifts?
To call your attempt in, and then, but the good thing is if there's you're better off following yourself.
Okay.
Because
you get 2 minutes then, don't you?
No, you get a minute to call in your attempt, then 3 minutes till you have to go. But if there's someone in between there,
you only get the
your attempt is already in, and it's a minute in between attempt, and that's it.
Yeah.
So when I did my 359 at 82, I did my opener, and then there was a guy named Buddy Duke at 90 kilos who went. Then there was me, and then I followed myself right after that. Because back in those days, the bar couldn't stop on the way up.
Yeah.
So it stopped at my knees, and then I pulled it, and I got red lighted. So then I have to follow myself again and re-pull it.
Uh-huh.
So if you could have, like, if we're going to run the Ed Coan Classic, you're going to put on a big money meet. It's going to be the biggest money that's ever been around in powerlifting. What does that meet look like? Is it 4 hour weigh-in? Is it 2 hour weigh-in? Is it tested? Is it untested?
2 hour.
Specialty bars? No specialty bars?
I wouldn't mind an old school one and invite some of the guys that do the massive deadlifts and stuff. Kaler said he'd love to do it and see what he could get on a regular bar. So there's guys that actually would want to do it, and then there's spoiled guys who wouldn't.
Walked out squats? Monos?
Walk up.
Sleeves? Wraps?
It wouldn't matter to me. As long as depth is good, it doesn't matter to me. And the quality of judging is up to par.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in Ohio wanted to run a meet at a certain fitness festival, but it was going to be under some federation that there's no way I would let it go. And how can I maintain quality, pick the judges, and do all that other shit when I'm not in charge? No way.
Yeah.
Wouldn't do it.
Do you like the notion of other people having their knees wrapped rather than wrapping themselves? Because I know you wrapped yourself.
Yeah,
always,
I wrapped
right?
myself, and I think they were like 2-meter double gold lines back in the day.
Yeah.
But for me, if it was too tight, it kind of made me wobble on the way down. I'd like to be able to hit my squats faster, and if I had someone else wrap me, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So it's just preference.
Yeah.
So do you think you're... Like, let's say you're born 25 years later than you were, and suddenly you're in this era of powerlifting. Do you think your lifting would have been any more substantial than it was?
Don't know.
Yeah,
Because I didn't really care about what other people did. I only cared about myself. I'd have kicked all their asses, though.
Yeah, that's not a huge surprise to me.
Because, my training list weigh in pounds 235 in the 242 pound class is I walked out with the old school knee wraps and did 420 for 2 in the squat, no problem. I benched 565 raw in the gym, paused. I doubled 900 in a deadlift. So with the advantages they have now, I would have been in the 100 kilo class doing that and going back up in weight.
What's the heaviest you ever got?
I think in one of the first or second Mountaineer I did, they had a under 100 kilos and a over 100 kilos. So I was like 112 and a half or so.
Uh-huh.
Just a bloat. Happy bloat.
Happy bloat.
It's the best kind of bloat.
Yeah.
No stress bloat.
Yeah. It was actually my idea to split up the prize money to do that. I said, let the lighter guys get some money and get more people in the meet.
Yeah, nice.
And it did.
Do you have anything else to add to this?
No, let's do the questions.
So we have 4 questions that...
I'll tell you what, as far as the new guys, there are a lot of new guys. Some of the old school guys, I would really, really like to see Dan Green be able to come back for a meet really healthy.
Yeah. It seems like every time he's ready to
He
push the envelope, he gets fucked up.
Now he's going to have twins, so he took off time and
yeah.
But yeah, he's always
That'll certainly
cool
throw a spanner in the works.
Yeah, he's always cool to watch.
Man, I'm watching him at, was it 2013 that
13,
he was
yeah.
at Melbourne? That was fucking phenomenal, man. That was the first time we had, I think that was really the first time we had like a proper international guest at an Australian powerlifting.
And he's way
like
bigger
that.
in person.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I remember walking around just being like, holy fuck. Like, I've seen this dude on social media before, and he's like a big jack dude, and then you see him in real life, it's like, oh,
he's
shit.
bigger.
Yeah, it's
he's
totally
way
different
bigger
ballgame.
now as well. I was
Yeah.
there a couple of months ago. He's so juicy.
Excellent. I love that.
Yeah.
So we have 4 questions that we like to ask all of our guests. The first one is, if you could sit down with anyone in the world still living for a meal, who would it be? Doesn't have to be a powerlifter, obviously. It can be anyone. Who would you pick? Or have you managed to be famous enough to do that?
No,
Whatever
I would like someone like that. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah?
I don't know who that is.
He's a...
Famous psychologist.
Yeah, he's a psychologist, university lecturer from the US. He has been labelled as alt-right.
Okay.
But he's not.
But yeah, he
just tells the truth.
Yeah. He's got a book called The 12 Rules for Life, an antidote to chaos.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but and then you want, who can I find that has lived like incredible experiences all over the world? That would be pretty cool too.
Yeah.
What's your favorite lifting memory? Doesn't have to be one that you had yourself. Just favorite memory from lifting in general. It can be yourself.
Well, the favorite one for myself, those are pretty easy. Probably my first Hawaii meet in '85.
That's the record breakers, right?
Yeah.
So what happened
There's
there?
probably a whole
I
generation.
was like
of
a
people
very,
lifting.
very light 100-kilo lifter. I was like, 100 kilos. I was probably
What were you in pounds?
96 at the most.
Okay.
And I went 9 for 9 and set 7 world records that day.
What were the records?
My second and third squat, so it was like 837 and 854. Then, and that was 1985, so I was 21 years old. I benched 501, 227 for the first time raw. But then the deadlift, every single one of my deadlifts broke the total record.
Okay.
And then 2 of the deadlifts was like 840 something. So like 382 and then 387 broke the highest deadlifts ever done in the weight class.
And what was the total?
1,000.
Yeah, wow.
So, if that's your favourite lifting memory of you, what's your favourite lifting memory that isn't you?
I don't know. I like so much about powerlifting that, I there's no way I could.
Yeah.
I'm lucky
Yeah.
that there's no way, because there's been so many cool shit when people lift. I'm still deadlifting. I'm picking my chest up, going through the movement and shit like that.
Still getting
I still get
goosebumps,
goosebumps all over the fucking place.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think that's the passion that if you've had it
You still
once,
love it.
yeah, it's still going to be there. It doesn't matter who you
There's
are.
still parts of me on the platform.
Yeah, that's not a huge surprise. What else have we got here? Hold on.
Can you read from there?
Yep, because my eyes are better than yours, apparently.
I can read.
Oh, righto.
You're drunk again.
No, I'm not. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a responsible
Dude,
adult.
every time you smile right now, you go blind.
That's because I'm fat, not because I'm drunk.
Oh, yeah.
So, what's the most important piece of advice you could pass on to someone who's only just getting into lifting?
Well, right now, for everyone, because of the good information mixed with shit information, get a good coach.
Yep. What do you think makes a good coach?
Keeping it simple for the lifter so they can understand it. You shouldn't have to read a routine and need to be a math professor to be able to do it. Albert Einstein said there's genius in simplicity. So you can come up with, it could look simple on paper, but now when you fill in the blanks and have the guy work on his technique that's the right for him, then you pick all the right exercises, the right sets, reps, and weights, there's the genius part. Then you got to get him to stick to it. And you guys are coaches. I mean, Tommy goes all over the world, and every time we coach, we learn. So we're getting better and better and better and better. And we realize that. A lot of people just think, this is the only fucking way to do it, and it's never going to change, and that's it. You can't do that. It's hard to be an online coach. There's a lot of time that goes into it now, because if you care. If you care, you can't just give everyone a cookie cutter routine and not sit around and watch videos all day and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it. They got to actually care.
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I think, and the thing that you said about like cookie cutter programs and that sort of thing is, I think the thing that makes people like Thomas and I good-ish at what we do, without tooting our own horns too much, is the ability to have like principles that allow you to be open-minded and allow you to learn and grow as you get better at things.
Yeah.
Whereas
I've got a really good phone book.
Yeah.
I can call anybody if I don't know something.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, but the ability to admit you don't know something, to like understand that you don't know everything, and that's okay.
No,
like,
I'll find out.
Yeah,
Now I know.
exactly.
Then you pass it on.
Yeah,
Every time someone asks me, hey, I've had this problem with my deadlift on this, I said, let me see a video. Now I can help you.
yeah.
I can't do it from you just telling me shit.
That kind of ties in nicely to our last question, which is, what is something that you used to believe fully but have since changed your mind about?
How many different ways of training actually work?
And that's just coming back to the idea of
Gotta be
the
open-minded.
simplicity.
Look at the results. A lot of things now, there's so many bullshit studies out there about nutrition and training and stuff that I did a podcast with the carnivore doctor guy, Sean Baker. And he said a lady with some big agency in the U.S. that does all this stuff, FDA or something, she left there and she said, you can't trust studies. They're so bastardized now and influenced by so much money that you have to really go by like results-based studies. We do our results-based studies. Look how many people you guys train. It's a results-based study every fucking time. Now, if something didn't look like with when you're okay, we're going to change this right away.
Yeah.
Now this will work. Now you got it.
It's the difference in not the difference, but the hierarchy of evidence.
Yeah.
Like for so long, the gold standard for evidence has been double-blind, placebo-controlled studies in science. That now there's so much money in the whole thing.
Yeah, who sponsored the study?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then
you can ask questions. The questions that how you frame the question to get the answer you want.
Yeah.
But see, like with me, there was only a few different ways to train back then. I based mine on all power bodybuilding because I started off bodybuilding, and like I've said before, I met Arnold and I turned around and my head was in his chest. So I was like, fuck, I'm going to try to be Franco Colombo because he was short and strong. And then I saw Kaz on TV lift at one of our nationals, and it was like, this big monster. I could get big, strong, not have to diet and pose on stage in those little trunks. I'm going to try this shit.
Yeah.
And it just took off.
Yeah.
But I maxed out twice a week till I squatted 500. Then I was like, well, I guess I got to train now. My legs didn't get any bigger. My back did because it was just a good morning. But and then you figure it out. So, all the volume everyone does, I based it, like I would do 2 top sets of squats, and I'd have another light squat day during the week. But my assistance work made up for it because I would treat my assistance work, my heavy compound movements, just like my competition movement. So I'd get them all stronger at the same time. So all these chunks of muscle and strength in different areas. So at the end of the day, if you had a sword and you hit me, you hit a chunk of armor.
Yeah. So
that was my philosophy, and it worked for a long time. But I took my time and went back and redid it again. Then did it. It's hard with a lot of people now. It's hard to do that. So a lot of the
people want to be really
is,
good right now.
Pardon?
People want to be really good right now.
Yeah, and some of the stuff will get you really strong right now. But if you leave out too much, you're going to have inherent weaknesses. Because here's your strength is always going to be there. Your best strengths are always going to be here. Your best weaknesses or horrible weaknesses are going to be here. If this goes up too high and you leave these behind, there's too much of a gap. Now you're fucked.
Yeah.
Something bad's going to happen. And you won't be able to keep doing what you want to do for a really, really long period of time. You'll get strong, but then it's going to die out and you're going to feel like shit.
Yeah.
But usually when people have a problem about 3/4 of the way through a routine, usually they say this routine sucks. And it's not that. Usually you suck because you got excited, you changed the way you were supposed to do it, or numbers or whatever, and you fucked it up.
I think that's a pretty good point to finish
That's
on.
a perfect point to finish on. Ed, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you guys. You guys just keep doing your own shit and having fun.
I think that's the key. We'll leave it there.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Where can people find you on social media?
Just Instagram mostly at Eddie Coan, and then I don't know if it's Ed Coan or whatever on Facebook, something like that.
You'll find him. He's
I'm
not hard to
on
find.
Instagram all the time. I always tell
Mostly
people
just
just
for
tag
tits
me in
and
your
eyes.
video. I look at everyone's videos. 90% of them make a little comment all the time.
I'm going to start tagging Ed Coan in my videos. I'd have to actually train.
Lifting
for that to be
video,
the case.
Johnny.
Okay. Cool. I'm glad we're all on the same page.
What about dog videos?
Any
He's
puppy
met my
videos.
dogs.
Any animal videos and tiger videos are good.
Yeah.
Tiger videos. I've got lots of tiger videos. I should tag you in all my tiger videos.
I'm sure I've seen them.
Yeah, excellent.
Can we talk about Ed's tiger that you used to have?
The what?
The tiger that you used to have?
I've had 2.
2?
Yeah, I had a regular golden one, which was a Siberian.
Regular gold one. Just like
A regular
picked it up
tiger.
at a
Well,
pet
it was a
store.
Siberian, which are the biggest.
Yeah.
And I had a white Siberian, which was very large. He ended up being like almost 7 foot tall, 400 kilos.
Far out.
Yeah. And still acted to me like he was a big baby.
What happened? The
Well,
government.
after a period of time, I mean, they only live 17, 20 years at the most in captivity.
Yeah.
So you put them out to a good breeding program and just take it from there. They live a really good life after that.
How did you get him in the first place?
I used to know these tattoo people, and then I had a way to get a federal license, so I had a federal license.
Yeah. They were at your house?
For a little bit,
Yeah.
up until a certain time. Then, I'm not going to have them at the house after they're 300 pounds. But I walked them around the block in my neighborhood at 300 pounds, which was pretty cool.
Fucking hell, man. I can't imagine. Like, I've had people cross the street to avoid me with, like, 2 40, 45 kilo dogs. Like,
I used to
just Ed Coan walking along with a
two
tiger.
Yorkies. One of them was 10 kilos, and he was a killer. And he would just go after every dog. When people saw us walking down the street, they would take their dogs and go on the other side from Yorkies. But yeah, I'd be walking the tiger around the block. All of a sudden, I'd see a cop over there, They'd be like, and I'd have the federal license.
Come on, man, where'd you get that tiger from?
Dog out of the house. And he starts barking at the tiger. The tiger turns around and just yawns and shows his teeth and turns back. Like, yeah, you ain't shit. But I could make him sit, jump up on stuff, and yeah.
Fucking
pretty cool.
Wild. That's
awesome.
Crazy. Excellent. Tigers. What a great way to finish.
Yeah, me and Mike Tyson.
You need a face tattaoo and then you'll be sweet.
No thanks.
There's a tattoo place just next to Pro Raw.
Nope.
We can do it over there.
Not gonna happen.
All right. Give us 5 stars.
Tell your mum.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.